Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI live noding. This is gonna be a continuation of previous live noding where we make like a procedural butterfly wings. This is what we have last time. Basically, we are able to control to make like some kind of randomized left and right wing. Although it's not so much looking like a wing yet. It just looked like I don't know. It's something like just like a circle, with a it has this mirror symmetry, so it already looks quite alright, but it's kind of pretty limited. Although it's still this is pretty cool as it is. Um, if I try to do a little bit more, so what I did here is you see this is what we have at the moment. This just random goes into the scale factor, but you can see I already add some others like the sine wave and things like that, just make everything's a little bit more complicated, but also you have more interesting thing happening. So let's have a look. Random number, if we zero it out, and if I play with the sine wave, let me show you what's going on actually. Where's the sine wave? Okay, that's the sine function. I'll maybe give it a highlight. And this sine function has this multiplier, and this one actually generates kind of like a more like a kind of like a flower kind of pattern. Yeah, so that's adding more or less frequency. This is a range float that's kind of like a value that goes up. Maybe what I did is here making it really between minus 0.25 and 0.02, but I can make any changes to here. It doesn't matter too much. And after the sine wave, that's more important, is this absolute. So what's really going on is we start with a circle, and we know that we cut the circle into half, and then we have just half, and now we have like a sine function. It's going like that, so making the circle looks actually with the sine functions, it's gonna go like this, and that's the circle. But I'm making it absolute, so the sine function becoming something like this, so it's more like a flower. And for our butterfly wing, that's really kind of what's going on. We're gonna have that half of butterfly wing. So if I get rid of the grease pencil, if I now just play around with the number, you'll see. So that's just kind of like an amplitude of the sine. This is the frequency of the sine, and we have a lot of parameters to play with now. This is the absolute. So if I'm making the values too big, actually this is just like a, if I zero this out, you see that the absolute's kind of making it like it looks like a flower. It's actually becoming like this. But because I add this number, I have kind of like an offset here, so the flower is a little bit like that, instead of they are touching each other. So that's cool. That's really working for us. And what else do we have here? This is the randomization. Here, if I play with this number, we're gonna have some kind of randomizations on the butterfly wing. And on top of this, on top of all this sine wave, I also have vector noise. and vector noise really add a lot to this. Now you can see, instead of making something that looks like a flower, you know, like a flower petal, everything's is like the same size. With the noise, we're kind of controlling that kind of design, controlling the petal. It has more randomization, so this is starting to look a lot more interesting as a butterfly wing. So I can kind of reduce. If I reduce this number, it's gonna be a lot smoother. This is actually what you want most of the case. If I make it too high, it's a little bit too random. It's becoming more like leaves. I'll keep it simple. So we have this, and then we have control over the noise, blender or Perlin or Voronoi, cell noise. Cell noise. Very often, cell noise is something that's more unpredictable and give you very interesting result. Yeah, something like that. So that's the noise that we can add. I can zero out the noise, so we have just the sine wave, but the noise really added like a interesting design to our procedural butterfly. Let me control this sine. We probably only need like 1 or 2 for the frequency here. And we can always go back to our circle and change the number of vertices. Yes, at this point we get something that's a little bit more abstract, but it's really interesting. Oops, we don't need to change that. You can hide it. This is the frequency, and all the way I actually made a little bit of adjustment with the wing. If you notice, if we now bake these two and look at the result, this is much better than what we have before. You see, we don't have like a flipping normal anymore, and both of them now functioning properly. If you like, we can also join this left and right side of the wings. It's totally up to you, but I just at this moment making them separate. We have the mirror still happening, and this is the scale. This scale node is actually the one that's doing everything. So let me explain it again from the very beginning, because I think I did it a little bit too fast. Top view. So what we have earlier, so we have like we start with a circle node in the previous live noding, and in the previous live noding I really just make it half, and then I'm using some kind of randomizations to make it something that looks like a wing, and then I kind of mirror it. That's all what I did in the previous live noding. It's not so much interesting, but in this one I'm introducing sine wave into this procedural butterfly wing. Sine wave give us something that looks like a flower petal, but the sine wave I give it like absolute value, absolute function, so it never reach under value of 0. What we have is becoming like this, like a bouncing ball. So that's the original circle. Now it's becoming a little bit more like a flower, and then with the flower we add noise function, and we have this kind of petal, and on top of that we have the original random from this guy. So what we have is more like this. Yeah, so that's the whole process. At this point, we can play around with the radius, the number of vertices, and we also have control over the range float, the multiplier, frequency multiplier for the sine wave, and also have this noise, control over the seed, and then multiplier for the noise, and this is the amplitude of the sine wave. This is the additional value controlling the wings, and then finally this randomness. See, this randomness, if I make it the same value, it's just kind of pushing and pulling the scale. But if I make it like a different value, we get that kind of more like a explosion kind of result. I'll just give a little bit, just for a little bit of interest, like additional randomness for the wing. Yeah, so it's yeah, it's pretty complex. It's pretty interesting as well. But this is really each of them is like each element is the concept that we already learned previously. We just put them all together, and this is really interesting because of the circle here that that we kind of hack into this butterfly wing. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this advanced butterfly procedural butterfly wings creations using SphereChalk add-on inside Blender. Maybe in the next video I'll make like the middle part of the butterfly, like the body and the torso and then the antenna, and then put them together into like a real butterfly. Or this could be a butterfly or moth, or could be something else, maybe like some kind of creature's wings. Yeah, so thanks again for tuning in. Any feedback, suggestion, and comments, just let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.